Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending another round of our CARM open mic sessions. I'm Maria, the marketing manager at GHY, and I'll be moderating this session today. We've allocated another 30 minutes today for our 9th open mic session. This session is dedicated entirely to your questions. It's an opportunity to get answers and learn about the most frequently asked questions that GHY has received since the official launch of CARM. So here's how we'll manage the questions this session, like every session. First, we encourage attendees to ask their questions live. To do this, please use the raise hand feature by navigating to the top of the Teams window to the meeting controls area and select that little hand icon. We'll call on people in the order that the hands were raised. Once I call on you, please turn on your microphone and your video to ask your question. Then you can turn them off again when we either have completed answering your question or after you've asked your question, have nothing further to add. So as a special incentive, as always, we're offering a GHY Little Care package that includes a GHY Blue Guide for the best live question that is asked. If you prefer not to ask your question live, that's okay. You can type your question into the Q&A discussion area, and you can access this by navigating to the meeting controls area and clicking on that little Q&A icon. So we'll alternate between live questions and those in the Q&A, making sure to address everyone in turn as best that we can. So after the session concludes, we'll be sending links to access the recording of this session and some other useful resources on CARM to explore. Our speakers today are Al Dewar, GHY's Executive Vice President, and Sarah Marcotte, our CARM and Special Projects Manager. Now we will open the floor with a little bit of an intro by Sarah and Al.
Good morning. Thanks, Maria, as always, and welcome back those who have been here before, and welcome anyone new. If anybody was in last week's, Al didn't join us, but he's back to grace us with his presence. As always, I kind of just start with just a little reminder that both as your broker or whoever your broker is, our goal, as well as CBSA's goal, is border fluidity, and that has continued. There's been hiccups here and there with the border issues, but overall, it is really focused on your post-release, which really is what CARM is, right? That was the whole point. Is it's about your accounting and final declaration. And we continue to work through those with CBSA, any issues or items that we're seeing that tend to be of a little more concern with us as your broker.
So we noticed we've got a question already, and like this is about answering questions. And what Sarah and I have also received is some suggestions for future improvements and tweaks, and those go along the line of categorizing questions and themes and what have you. We'll try to make sure that in future we adjust and pivot to make best use of everybody's time. With that, maybe how about if we go to the first question, because that's what this is about. Open mic.
For sure. We'll go to the live one here. Rajan, did you want to go ahead?
Good morning and thank you. This is actually pertaining to October's statement of account. Between the statement of account, the K-84 document, and the transaction history report pulled out of CARM, they all three have different amounts due. So I wasn't sure if October was the start month of when the new pay period will begin, or if that one stays stagnant with the predecessor dating. But I just can't explain to my accounting department which amount due is payable for October statement, because all three of them have different amounts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is a big part to working through the new system. On October 4th was the last day that the legacy CBSA system was live, and then it was a blackout period until the 21st. So during that period, that any entries you had within there wouldn't have been accounted for under the old system, but would ultimately be accounted for under the new system, and meaning it would be paid with the new system. But it's not like we turned on the system and day one everything was cleared up. So unfortunately, most companies are working through that reconciliation. And it really is, unfortunately, it's going to be kind of running your transactional history through up until CARM kind of started and looking through that. But not many's do match, because if we haven't accounted for it, but CBSA believes it's due within that month, they're going to post it as due. So you're still seeing stuff that may be due that perhaps hadn't yet been posted, and it does cause a lot of confusion back and forth. We are here to assist with reconciliation. We do offer support and have some services that can also help you with that reconciliation if you happen to be a client of GHY anyway.
So if you're a client of ours, maybe take this offline with us, we can climb into it. If not, we recommend either your current broker or opening a ticket with CBSA. We can share with you what we understand of the tickets and the calls. They've more than doubled resources. They're doing various trainings once a week to try to make sure their resources are caught up, but they're quite inundated in dealing with things on an overtime basis right now. So I hope that's of some help for, or at least consolation, knowing you're not alone based on what Sarah's referencing.
Thank you. May I have a follow-up question to that?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. With the statement date coming out on the 25th, and they're saying that CARM, everything that is due, would that include everything after the 25th to the end of the month? I'm still not sure on that.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that CBSA calls the statement of account a static document, which is very interesting, but that's how they describe it. And what that means is that technically you could still have items due within that month. It shouldn't happen once all the backlog is cleared up and everybody's really reconciled. Your entries are what shows up on your statement of account is the 18th of month one that's released on that date all the way up until the 17th of month two. And those are final accounted for and then become posted to that statement of account. If anything, for some reason, doesn't get posted or something within that timeline, there's something that occurs, it could be due still in that same month, but isn't on your SOA. And that's kind of what you're seeing now. Whereas in the future, the goal would be that you shouldn't be seeing that on a regular basis.
But you could still see it.
So it could happen.
It's triggered based on the release date. So unfortunately, the statement of account may not be complete as to what your liability is.
Thank you for that.
Thanks for your live question, Rojan. Okay, we got a shy crowd here waiting for, we've got Lorraine. Lorraine, do you want to go ahead? Oh, you're on mute, Lorraine. Lorraine, you just have to turn your mic on. Yeah. There you go.
So I think I was late in hearing the last question, but we also are having a problem with our account. We had an invoice back in October from GHY that we paid, and the amount is still showing outstanding for receiver or for the CARM portal. How do I or who do I talk to get this clarified?
Yeah, it's a really good point. A lot of clients have seen amounts not yet posted, or they're trying to figure out where that money has been allocated to. So there's a couple possibilities. Definitely, if it's with GHY, just reach out to our accounting department. Maria can provide the contact information after. And again, reconciliation, accounting, all there to help support with that. What could be happening is CBSA has not been fast to post those payments. They're starting to come in and be posted, but some are very delayed. Or it could be, depending on what's going on, that it has been posted, but it's paid something else. So definitely a chat with accounting will help support that.
In addition to that, it's possible that what has happened is there were hundreds of coding things that prohibited us from actually accounting on your behalf for the declaration. So we had given you a proper declaration, but we withheld based on release, but we withheld posting the accounting until CBSA was able to clean up particularly areas that there were reliefs on, where you could have something be duty free or have a lower tax basis based on how things were set. They're almost at the end of that, or are they at the end of that? They're very close.
Very close. So for GHY, we've cleared up most of our concerns that were, system or CBSA related concerns that would hold back those.
But that was just last week.
We're just finishing that up this week. But there are still a lot of open tickets in regards to errors we're seeing with CBSA. And those are slowly being worked out. But the main thing there that Alice speaking to is things like GST exemptions, annex codes, or tariff codes that reduce or eliminate duty. Those are the types of things where we're seeing a lot of rejects still. Your entry could be one that's not truly finalized, but so we can definitely take a look. You can either give me a call personally or accounting, and we can help you out with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Great. That's an outstanding question because I would be concerned if I've received a bill, I've paid a bill, but I don't see it posted. So outstanding question because we want to make sure accounting happens and it's right for you versus
Yeah,
submitting, because if we submit it, they do the calculation based on what they think until they get the coding done, and then you have to have an adjustment done. So we're trying to make sure you're only getting one service fee and getting it done for a service done correctly. So
okay, because
great
I keep
question.
getting reminders that I have a past due amount, and that was concerning to me.
CBSA has posted that there's a 90-day grace period on any overdue penalties. So as they're working through this and as we're trying to help reconcile, yeah, obviously nobody ever wants an overdue penalty or even just knowing you've got something owing, but know that that penalty is being waived at this time.
It's very,
Okay.
and period, it's very frustrating that they wouldn't have their system set properly, but yet they send notifications saying, oh, hi, you need security. Hi, you need to account. And it's, oh, we just want to make sure we're advising people. Well, clean up your own act first, please. Anyway,
Yeah.
but happy to take that deeper offline, Lorraine. Great question, and I would be bothered as well. But nothing to worry about.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, we've got another live question that came in from Lori. Lori, did you want to go ahead?
Hello, hopefully you guys can hear me. Thank you very much for these sessions. I think I've been to almost every single one. I find them very helpful. Speaking of notifications, is there any guidance on when they will be helpful? Because we have 3 business numbers that are on the portal, and we get an email that says, hey, come and check us out. And then I go, and there's absolutely nothing that is new. And so even last week, I had one from like December 3rd, and I go into every single one of our portals, and I have no new notification.
So couple points there. One, for people that have multiple either businesses or business numbers, that one's a little bit easier to deal with because I've had a lot of people complain like, I'm getting notifications. I don't even know what business it is. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. So I have to sign into all of them. One of the things that you could do if your IT department can help you with is you can create aliases. So you can have an email and it goes to like a specific box so you know which business number it's actually for. And that's what I've done internally for myself. So I have notifications shoot off to different boxes depending on that business number. So just a helpful hint. As for when they become available or they're, helpful, I mean, the hope would be once everything is cleared up and these notifications should be things like, you have a payment due, or you're actually requiring that security and that you're over that limit. The other things should be things like, hey, we see a verification or we want to do a verification audit on something. And unfortunately, because it's anything, it is paying attention to them.
But in addition to that, Lori, that is one of the most bothersome issues. CBSA has said that's a priority. However, that priority was identified probably 3 years before going live. So let's hope it's on the next release, but we have nothing to give you comfort or closure at this time. Sorry.
That's okay. So just be clear so that when I get a notification saying you have something to look at in the portal and I go in there and there is nothing, that's normal.
No, and that's what I was going to say. If you're not seeing anything on any of the businesses, I recommend putting in a ticket. I've had a couple people ask me that now. I've seen it on some accounts and other ones it's showing up. It's been very inconsistent. So I would log a ticket. Unfortunately, I guess you have to log a ticket and put all your business numbers and say, I don't know which one, but
Okay, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks, Lori, for your question. We'll jump over to Denise for a live question.
Good morning. I have a couple of questions. So the first one is I have a few transactions where I need to either adjust the price because the price on the declared docs isn't what we actually paid, or quantity because there's a discovered quantity variance once we got it into our warehouse. Should I be submitting those now or wait until things kind of settle down with CARM? So that's my first question.
Okay, interesting question. I guess it basically, there's kind of two ways to go here. Do you file your own corrections, or does us as your broker, do we file them on your behalf?
You have been filing them on my behalf, but with CARM, I was wanting to see if I could probably do it on my own and then let you guys know that I've done it so that you can account for it properly. So I guess I'm kind of leery of doing it on my own right now while CARM is still a bit of a mess.
Yeah, and the portal is definitely not going to be user friendly, so I'll warn you that the corrections are not very straightforward. So you're going to want to definitely have time and spend to go through that. And of course, the second part that you stated there, letting your broker know, is very important because we won't have visibility to those corrections. And we want to make sure that we can clear that in our system too, so that your statement from us would show anything that you've done. As for when, the system is, for the most part, operating as per design. We have done internal corrections and adjustments, couple little weird nuances here and there, but overall we've received our automatic refund if we've submitted a correction. If we've filed a refund, we've received a lot of rejects because paperwork isn't there. So we're very important to attach all required documents. But other than that, it appears that it's operating as it should.
Okay, and my second question is we usually do our own duty drawback for plastic bags, BOPP bags, and we have been like accumulating all the paperwork, and a couple of times a year we send it off to the CBS customs office downtown in Winnipeg, and it's all very paper, very manual. Do I still continue with that, or is there a way through CARM? Like, do I do that through CARM now? Like, I'm a little confused.
Great question. So drawbacks has definitely been one of the ones. During testing, it didn't go well, and it's been pushed back to CBSA as need for more work. There is a means of doing it through the portal, but it does not function well. And the DMemo is that you can still file the same way you would today. Yes, cumbersome paper, but honestly less stressful than the portal that isn't necessarily going to be very easy.
But there is still guidance as to how to, like, and again, you're early to this right now, Denise. So there is guidance as to how to do it on the portal and submit information that we can provide, correct? But then it really becomes your choice as to whether it be, as Sarah alluded to, the legacy way, which, probably still reliable, or the new way that they're working through. Would that be fair, Sarah?
The new way they've even stated themselves isn't necessarily working properly. So they said you could still do it through paper process, but submit it electronically, or you can still continue completely paper process. So they recognize that the online tool is not at the capability it should be, but there is definitely user guides. If you go to just the CARM main page with CBSA, and they have their onboarding documentation on there, would be anything that you should need for how to kind of go step by step.
So Maria will make sure that that's shared at the end of this webinar. And if we want to, or you want to talk about it more after, we can.
Okay. Another little question about the duty drawback. When I was submitting by paper through to the office, I would put GHY's security number on there so that you could see it when we were doing the monthly SOA. Should I continue doing that so that when they post it onto our account, you can still see it?
I don't know that it will, that will not show us anything, I don't think, because it relates to your business number versus our account security number. Great question, but we won't get visibility to that.
Okay, so if I submit a duty drawback and I want you to know what the amount is, I should let you know
That's,
Yeah.
yes.
what they've actually refunded, because there usually is a little bit of a difference between what I submit and what they refund.
Right.
So I should let you know what they've actually refunded so that you can reflect that on our SOA when we do our GST at the end of the month.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Denise, for your question. Okay, we're going to jump over into the Q&A section here and grab a question, and then we'll jump back over into our live questions. This one's from Olga. Please help me to understand financial security requirements for release prior to payment as it appears on the CARM client portal. In theory, financial security amounts posted on non-cash bonds values should equal to the highest amount duty over the past 12 months. Therefore, posted security should be 50% of the highest month. Nudging is coming to increase security posting does not appear to be calculated correctly, and if I add it to the current coverage, I exceed the highest month. To make matters worse, the ticket page is not working. Any suggestions?
All right. Yeah, this is a great question. I just want to make sure I do understand. So I believe the question is, or the statement there is that the portal is posting the highest month, which is accurate. It's going to take a look at CBSA's fiscal year from June to, or July to July.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then find your highest month. And then it's going to tell you that that is what you need to post. And it's going to tell you 100%. Because no matter what, it doesn't know if you want to do cash or non-cash. So it's just going to say you need to post this amount. And if you were going to do cash, then you would be doing the 50%. And if you were doing a written, if you're doing cash, sorry, 100%. And if you were doing written, you would do a 50%. So you need to just determine that 50%. And then when CBSA posts it, you've obtained your bond, CBSA will post that 50%, duplicate it, and it will show the 100%. So I hope that clarifies the first part. I don't know if that
sounds good.
Yep. And then nudging. Oh, sorry.
I think someone's mic is on, but I don't think Olga is there to. Yeah.
As for the nudging, it's still, definitely trying to understand what's going on with nudging, because the system just takes a look at what you currently have posted and decides based on that.
So let's just say also the nudging right now, it's quite frankly, it's rude. Like, why should you be nudged when there's no requirement at this moment to have RPP? We understand that we should be reminded. We understand that it's coming. As people are moving towards it, it feels very rude to be nudged from a notification. But that's what is happening right now. There's no reason to worry about the nudges. We will make sure that we share with you as well the context as to this particular transition stage. It is great that we're all getting awareness, but there's a bit of frustration when you get continued awareness. It's one thing if I'm standing behind Sarah in a line and I nudge her once, that's, maybe she can tolerate that. But if I nudge her 2 or 3 times, I'm expecting her to say, Al, what are you doing? So we're working through it. The government, we will share that document so that people are aware. The nudges right now are just notifications.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
And I just want to kind of add into that is, if you do feel the 100% that is posted is way over what it should be, then definitely do log a ticket with CBSA. If the ticket center isn't working, like I think it said at the bottom there, you're going to have to continue to refresh, try clearing your cache and your cookies.
Perfect. Thank you. So we'll go back over into the live questions. Doug, you've been waiting patiently. Did you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Great show today.
Thanks.
Yeah, I cannot beat those questions to win the blue guy thing. There's no way. Anyways, I'll give it a shot. It's one for Al and kind of one for Sarah, but Al, maybe A for Al. Any other known issues CBSA is working on or ones that have come up recently? And then for Sarah, just maybe walk us through, I think it's January 20th, not the inauguration, but the day that we're going to start paying penalties for late payments. Any word on whether that's going to be extended or best practices, and maybe a review of how many days are required to make your payments?
So what's new, and I guess what we will maybe be able to do right after this, I and a few other folks were in Ottawa last week, and we did hear that the CBSA had advanced on certain areas of closure and that they would be communicating something this week. Have also seen that there's been some dialogues on that, but I haven't seen the finalized format from CBSA. So perhaps by the time Maria sends that out, I noticed the ting on our email right now earlier as we were doing this. So maybe we'll be able to share something that others haven't even seen before that. So what's new? What's new is there's still things that are outstanding. The government, for some crazy reason, they're only doing broader adjustments once a week. So they're doing them the best that they can. They usually do them on Friday. In regards to the other, I'll let Sarah take that, and if not, I'll punctuate it. Go ahead.
Definitely. That's definitely a great question on the penalties. I think that's starting to weigh on everybody's minds that, it doesn't take long before 90 days expires. And unless Al has heard different at this point, I haven't heard anything on an extension. I kind of would be shocked that they don't, given that a large majority of the backlog of entries being held is because of CBSA's system. So, the hope there is either that is all clarified before, or they take a look at what needs to happen there. So I don't know if you have anything else on that part.
Yeah. Okay. The sentiment is there's a belief that they cannot provide any further relief. And the reason for that is the people that have invested to get things corrected would be disincented compared to the people that haven't in that regard. So everything is to target towards having things cleaned up within the 90 days, and the 90 days was adequate. What we and others don't understand is where importers haven't properly delegated all of their service providers, there's these liabilities that exist for entries that can't be confirmed. If we go back to Denise's questions, there's entries that we haven't confirmed because the system isn't right. But there's also entries that haven't been confirmed because an importer hasn't delegated the service provider broker that did the release. If that isn't changed, what winds up happening is that liability exists, and what is the government going to do to pursue you in that liability for late accounting penalties, et cetera? And when will that impact your releases of goods? So those are questions that the Canadian Society of Customs Brokers are asking, because I can tell you, even just with UPS alone, I had a good conversation with them. They said they had thousands of entries that they couldn't account for. So they chose to, in this month, to shift it over to count under their business number, which is not what CARM's supposed to be. But they did what was offered through the transition period. But if you don't get the delegation properly, this transition period is going, and issues that surround it are going to happen, quite frankly, ad infinitum.
And I think that that's going to be one of the biggest parts is going to continue right after CBSA does clear everything else up, is that delegation is a major component.
But here I am, as an importer, CBSA, you want to have a relationship with me that relates to my business number, my tax structure. And yet there's a disconnect in that regard that is impacting me that never existed before CARM. Very frustrating.
And we have a lot of clients that can't get into the portal, so they can't delegate, and their tickets aren't being answered. So it's a struggle.
Let's go to the next one, unless we missed anything there, Doug. Maria, all yours.
Okay, thanks, Doug, for your question. And we'll get you a blue guy. All right, we're going to jump over into another Q&A question, and then we'll go back into live. So this one is from Amanda. I was told that if importers do changes on their own, brokers have no visibility in future to the changes to the original commercial accounting declaration they filed. Are there plans to work around that? And there's a second part. Do we think CBSA will extend payment into January for December for the statement of account? Only 3 business days is unreasonable.
The first one there, definitely that is accurate. As brokers, we have no visibility to what you're doing in the portal without you letting us know. And we do have ways to, the software companies do provide ways for us to be able to query them in. So as long as we know, we can work together through that. But if you go in your portal, you go and you do something, and then you get a report from your broker and you go, well, why don't these match? That can definitely be a component to it. As for the payment, every month, every month you have 10 weekdays to make your payment from the after the 17th. So whatever the first weekday is after the 17th, that might be the 18th, or it might be after the weekend, you have 10 weekdays to make your payment. So CBSA does not include, or they include holidays in that 10 days now. So that's where some companies may find December a little bit difficult, being that you've got a couple days of holidays. But so December would technically be.
But can't we say for this, just for the purposes of this question, because we're still in that transitional period, it's not an issue. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
It's
like on other years, for sure, we've got a different issue, but
this
this
could
year,
technically be your last month that a late payment wouldn't be the end of
Yeah.
the world. But yeah, they are still giving you 10 weekdays, and your payment would be due on the 31st.
and I think going back to your first question, like you would have to tell the broker that you're dealing with, and their system would have to support the ability to get that information.
Mhm.
Because if both of those things don't happen, the broker wouldn't have visibility, and CBSA doesn't care if they have visibility or not, because maybe you've used a different service provider or to do something different. You use your broker for release and accounting, and the record keeping isn't necessarily something they're affixing to that. So, I hope that was clear.
Thanks, guys. I think so. Denise, did you want to go ahead and ask your live question?
Hello, me again. So you were talking about delegation and like UPS in particular, where they're releasing stuff but not asking for delegation. Should they be? Like, how do I know that another broker or freight forwarder doesn't have a transaction with our name on it? That, like, how would we be aware of that? How would we know to?
Yeah, a good question. I guess the big thing there is it can get a little confusing with UPS and FedEx acting as a courier, but in some cases acting as a broker. And that should depend on the agreement that you technically have with UPS, right? You may have them clear your air shipments, and air shipments for FedEx and UPS, they typically say brokerage is included, and most people use them for that. They're going to need delegation to be able to complete that. Or you could go in and you could complete it yourself.
But what
a lot of work.
What I also heard from Denise, and I'm not sure I know the answer without looking a little bit more in the portal. Hi, UPS processed a release on my behalf. Now that release is creating a liability for me that needs to be accounted for, but maybe I haven't given them delegation. What do I do is what I heard. Do you know the answer to that? I'm not 100% certain that I could see it on the portal at this point in time.
But
I don't.
it would depend. So I guess the big thing there would be for yourself as the importer, you should be able to see anything that happens against your business number. So you should see anything that's sitting there that has been released. It would be noting as it hasn't yet been final accounted for.
Perfect. So that would say it like that.
Mhm. And it'll tell
what
you
she-
which broker.
That's right, because it would call the broker the filer as far as
Yes.
open entries. And you would see if GHY had 10, you would see, hi, GHY hasn't accounted for 10. And UPS has two. UPS has it. They see that that filer code is UPS, have an accountant for two, and then it's at your discretion, your decision as to
How
whether
they-
you
yeah.
delegate others in order to properly account.
Yeah, and you
Okay, so-
could, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, just a kind of a follow-up to that. So if I didn't want UPS clearing goods on my behalf, and
Mhm.
I mean, I struggle with UPS on a daily with this.
Shocking.
Yeah. And they don't contact me for delegation, but they've released something on my account. Can I go to them and say, okay, that you shouldn't have touched that. Can you send it to my broker?
That is correct,
And then
yes.
and then have the broker like take it over. Like we used to do that before. They would release something, I'd call them and
Yeah.
say, no, send that over to the broker. And
Yeah, so you can say, you know what, sorry, yep, you don't have
Absolutely.
that power of attorney.
Absolutely, you can do that, but know also that, as I alluded to, particularly in this transition period, what they and others will probably be doing is if they haven't received delegation, again, the thousands, they don't have delegation for thousands. They're gonna do whatever they can to close off the transaction. So they'll likely close it off under their own business number and send you a bill. When you look at your bill, it'll show you their name, but pardon me, your name, but their business number, and you just won't have visibility to that. But that's what they'll try to do.
Yeah, and then I mean, I would personally probably fight that and say, no, I want this under my business number.
That's a different
But
conversation.
that's
yeah, like I said, UPS has been the bane of my existence for a very, very long time with stuff like this. And I've always told them, no, you shouldn't have touched that. And a lot of times they get the accounting wrong, and that's like they either get the GST code, duty code, stuff like that wrong. Their brokerage is way too high, and I struggle with them, honestly. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Thanks for sharing, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. You certainly aren't the only one. We have more of a comment that came in from Sue, who asks, can you ask if anyone else in this meeting has been trying to get a response from UPS or got any replies from UPS regarding the continued charging of GST, but have not submitted payment to CBSA? Stupid UPS, I still have not received a confirmation from UPS that GHY is appointed as our broker. Now I need to call them, and that's worse than calling CRA. So yeah, everybody's in the same boat there, it sounds like.
We cannot help on influencing another service provider in that regard. So I'm sorry.
I know
It's
you've submitted
unfortunate,
your your cancellation request, and I mean, that's the biggest thing that you can do with any broker that you've chosen not to use, any service provider, right? So that
That it's in reality, it's crazy. Somebody can do something on your account and you can't effectively stop that at release. Like that is a bit of a design issue with CARM. Like,
yeah, and I kind of hope they fix something in that sense where
But
maybe
don't count on it.
ultimately, you know, maybe delegation needs to happen at release at some point.
what else you got, Jeffrey?
Dreams.
Yeah, we don't have an answer for that other than our own frustrations.
Yeah, for sure. Other than that, it looks like yeah, that's the extent of the questions today. I don't see any
Wonderful.
more. Oh, hold one moment. We've got one more comment, then we'll close off. So just a comment from Hope. UPS has been an issue for her as well. All the companies I work for longer than some of those here that have been born. Yeah, so yeah, the frustration is there. Thanks, Hope, for that comment.
We'll get the information as Marie always does to everybody out as to what occurred here, as well as anything in support of that for your background, particularly Denise, and drawbacks. If there's any particular theme or content that you'd like Sarah and I to be like pre-prep for our last one, which I think is next week of the year, please pass that on. We appreciate all of your time in connecting with us in this way and our ability to be educated and also to be sharing with you on behalf of you information to societies and CBSA. And if we do have any more information, we'll pass that on to Maria.
For sure. Thanks, guys. So just really quickly want to close out. Again, thanks everyone for attending and submitting your thoughtful questions. So our final session is next week. That's on December the 10th. Be sure to register. We, of course, always look forward to seeing you there. As a reminder, I will send out that follow-up email with those related links that we spoke about today. And along with the recording. So please reach out to us at any point. We're always here to help. Thank you again. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.